we'll keep it real on here. You and I were waxing poetic about the Lakers. Like I say, waxing poetic every week, but we were giving them the credit that they deserved for things that they were going on. A terrible rash of injuries hit them at the worst possible time because they were finding their stride. Talked about LeBron's groin. He's back from the groin injury. Rui went down. Jackson Hayes went down. They all were kind of dealing with that and trying to figure that stuff out. They've lost 3 in a row. At the time of recording, they're gearing up to play the Pacers tonight, so they could get back on track by the time you hear this. But they're showing a few flaws in the armor a little bit. Before we talk about the flaws real quick, big salute, shout out to Bronny James. Just had career high 17 points in the NBA last week and then a career high in the G League 39 earlier this week. So it's almost like the blue chip McDonald's All-American just needed a little time to come back from a crazy health event and then, just get back accustomed to playing basketball at a high level to start performing. I don't know. That's just a crazy concept. But anyway, Bronny, the Lakers, what do you think about? Are you concerned about this recent stretch, or is just kind of the ebbs and flows of the season?
I mean, you and I should take a moment to just give ourselves a quick pat on the back, because even through all the moments that people were like, this guy doesn't deserve to, be a draft pick, even be in the G League, anything like that. Like, I just saw that he's the youngest player in the G League that's averaging 20 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. Like, come on, man. Like, like you said, this kid's coming back from a heart condition and, 55th overall pick. Like,
he's got good genes too.
Yeah, decent genes, maybe the greatest athlete to ever walk this planet, but, things are kind of falling into place for him. But, on the Lakers front, like, it's almost like this was predictable in the way that the defense felt like fool's gold. Like, okay, like they added Luka and the defense got better. There's not a whole lot that makes sense there. And like, yeah, JJ can do as much as he can to, schematically put players in a position to be successful on that end. But, they're 3-7 in their last 10 games, and they've been a bottom 10 defense in the NBA over that stretch. So I think it's more of just like the honeymoon phase is over. Things are kind of coming back down to earth for the Lakers. And now, like, all right, so they threw, maybe they got punched in the mouth first as Luka was trying to, get back from that calf injury and get into rhythm next to LeBron. And how is he going to fit in on this team? And then they hit a little bit of a honeymoon phase where everything looked really good and the team is playing really well. And then, they dealt with a couple injuries and now they're back to, so it's been, up, down. And now it's like, all right, like, what is this team? How good is the Lakers? How good are the Lakers really?
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to find out down the stretch here. And LeBron is going to try and make his comeback from, the groin injury and get back into rhythm here. And we're already starting to see that. And, do I believe that the Lakers can be an elite enough defensive team to make a deep postseason run? I really don't. And I think that like what we've been seeing from their defense lately is more of like what is to really be expected of this team. But then again, like you have 2 of the greatest playmakers that we've ever seen. And that's going to put you in a position to win a playoff series in general. So, the Lakers got to keep the foot on the gas to make sure they stay out of that playing range. But, as of right now, like the last 10 games of the season don't mean a whole lot to a lot of the teams in the league, but they are one of the teams where this last stretch really means a lot.
Yeah, you mentioned that. I think the biggest thing for them is avoiding the play-in tournament. As we record right now, 3 games ahead of 7th seed Clippers. And we'll talk more about the play-in tournament picture here on the show, on the second half of the show anyway. I was getting ready to ride the fence and say, are the Lakers who they were to start, or is this who they actually are? And I was going to say, I think they're probably somewhere in the middle, but I do agree with you. Like, I think that this is who the Lakers actually probably are. Like, there were some things that went their way, some things that they executed perfectly, which you can't expect perfect execution on a nightly basis. I mean, it's easier to maybe try to expect that when you're, in the playoffs and you're just trying to, focus and hone in on these series and just winning 4 games and 7 tries. But I think that it's going to be super important for LeBron, Luka Doncic, and Austin Reeves to be all clicking at the same time, because it's a team that they just gave a 146 to the Bulls. Shout out to Kobe White, by the way, and we talk about this player tournament stuff.
Balling.
He's balling. First Chicago Bull to win Player of the Week in consecutive weeks since Michael Jordan. Actually, they're only 2 in Bulls history, so there you go. Derrick Rose never even did that. But back to the Lakers. So I think that they're going to have to win some shootouts. And I think that's probably the formula for them, right? Like, maybe they can count on getting those type of defensive efforts twice in a playoff series, and maybe you win both of those games because that's your identity, the identity you want to have. But then some shootouts, Luka, LeBron, Austin Reeves, Jackson Hayes, catch the ball, be ready, finish over the top, have good hands. Like Rui, knock down these open jumpers in the corner. Dorian Finney-Smith, knock down these jumpers. Like, Gabe Vincent, all these guys are going to have to shout out to Jordan Goodwin too. Came in, earned a real contract, just scrappy guy, adds a little attitude to this team. But they need those type of contributions, especially if they're going to be letting up 115, 120 in these games. They got to go figure out how to get their 115, 120, 125. They have the guys to do it, but it's just a matter of seeing, can they get it done enough times, like you said, go on a run like that? Because that's a big ask.
Yeah, and you and I have talked about it over and over and over again. It feels like 4 weeks in a row on this podcast now. Like, matchups are going to matter so much in the Western Conference, and things are still so tight that we really can't project where teams are going to fall. Like, even though we know OKC is going to be the number one seed, we have no idea who is going to represent the West in the play-in tournament. And again, I know we're going to get to that, but it's like the margin for error is so slim. The Grizzlies were in second place in the West like a week and a half ago and then lost 4 games in a row. And now they're down to 4th place and they'd draw the Lakers in the first round, which is a matchup we've already seen. They don't want that matchup. And then you look at the Rockets, like the Rockets went on a crazy skid like a month and a half ago. And now they've won 10 out of their last 11 games. Yeah. And now they have a 2-game lead on second place. So it's like, it takes one stretch for a team in the West to go from sitting pretty in not even being close to the play-in tournament to like the Lakers were in second place like 2 weeks ago. And now they're like, there's a legit chance that they don't finish in the top 6 in the Western Conference. So I think that's what makes it so interesting is that, again, like the last 2 weeks of the season here, it's not going to matter to probably half of the NBA, to the teams in the bottom half and the teams the very cream of the crop. But like there is that entire pack in the middle of the Western Conference right now where it is going to have massive implications on who makes deep playoff runs based on where they end up and who they get matched up with in the first round. And that alone is a reason for NBA fans to tune in over the last couple of weeks. I know March Madness is going on, baseball is starting up. There's a lot of other stuff going on. NFL draft rumors are starting to heat up and everything like that. But, like the Western Conference playoffs, we've been saying it for weeks, it's going to be a gauntlet. And it's going to be real interesting to see how teams try and position themselves to draw certain first round matchups.
Yeah, I think the coolest thing to that point before we throw it to a break is that you mentioned like these stretches that teams are going on, 9 out of 10, 10 out of 11. Lakers lost 7 out of 10. This is it, right? This is the final stretch. Like, again, Lakers right now, as you record this, have 11 games left after tonight. They only have 10 games left. So what can these teams do over these final 10 stretches? And I think back to when the Lakers made that run in 2023. They said, man, we were so ready to get the playoffs going because we treated every game like a playoff game down the stretch. And because of how important staying out of the play-in tournament is and getting the right seed and what you want, we're going to see a lot of teams. The playoffs are going to start for them a week before the season ends. So like you said, we implore you all out there, tune in to these games during the week. We know the tournament gets going for the weekend, but leading up, there are going to be a lot of games. Crazy enough, I wish I had the games written down in front of me. Conversely, it's also a huge week for the tank. They're like all like the teams at the bottom of the lottery are playing each other this week, but that's not as important as the playoff positioning. And there are teams in the play-in tournament who could potentially move up or just have their eye on who they might play in the first round.